All right, good morning, YouTube. So, for today's thought, I want to talk about a personal conspiracy theory that I kind of have developed over the past couple years. But anyway, what I have always thought about was after the advent of cryptocurrency, when Bitcoin was getting really big, um, there was this time period where Bitcoin was kind of questionable and it wasn't really doing anything, and it kind of sat for a little while and people didn't understand it. And then about maybe less than a year later, it started to get kind of big. And then when it started to take off, which probably wasn't a year after its inception, it was probably after that. But once it did start to take off, you saw the inception of all these other coins. And most of them were scams. A lot of them were scams. Almost all of them were scams. There's a couple of very reputable alternatives to Bitcoin. And I'm not here to sell you on cryptocurrency. I just want to talk about the environment that Bitcoin, which was the original, grew up in. And what I think is interesting is, and where I think the conspiracy comes in, is all of the scam. I guess I'd call them shit coins. A lot of pump and dump schemes were created, and I have always thought that a lot of those were probably flooded into the market by major governments who saw their their financial way of printing money at risk. And you still see this today that, behind the curtain, governments are very afraid of this because it does definitely kneecap them and their ability to just print money. And it will absolutely take away that ability if Bitcoin gets big, because you don't want the rate of inflation to overtake, um, you know, to flood your capitalistic market, and then your population won't be able to function because inflation will be too high. I don't know if I said that correctly, but that's kind of how I think about it. Uh, but you saw a lot of these Bitcoin wannabes that had a lot of backing and a whole lot of fakeness to them, and it was almost like they were created to be really big nothings, um, and kind of confuse everyone, and make the cryptocurrency environment confusing and scammy. And in a lot of respects, it worked. Um, and one of the things I think about is that Elon Musk is someone who likes to kind of fire off his opinion without a whole lot of, uh, what am I trying to say? He doesn't take advice from other higher ups within his company about the political ramifications of a lot of the social blast that he does. Think back to his time on Joe Rogan of smoking weed and how that affected his company and his stance in the company. And, he got major backlash from that. If I remember correctly, he might have even been threatened with, getting ousted from his own company's board, which I don't even know if you can do. I'm kind of speaking off my I don't remember the details, but I do remember that he caught a lot of flack. And, I think about that when he came out and said, we're going to do Bitcoin for Tesla, and that was a huge boost for Bitcoin. And then more recently, he's gone, well, we're definitely not going to. And I want to think that, maybe someone got to him and said, hey, buddy, you can't be saying that. I don't know if that makes sense. But, yeah, I do think that a lot of the shit coins and a lot of the fakey copy Bitcoin stuff that came out around the time Bitcoin came out was probably orchestrated by powerful governments in order to make the cryptocurrency environment seem scammy and less legitimate because it was a huge threat to their way of printing money and still is a huge threat. Just last week we saw China come out and ban cryptocurrency. And, it kind of reminded me of this little conspiracy theory that I've always had in the back of my head. Yeah. Anyway, y'all have a good day. Enjoy.